The opening ceremony for the 2022 Winter Olympic Games in Beijing, China, was held Friday, but the event has been surrounded by a political controversy. China has been criticized by some countries and human rights groups over what they say is abuse against Uyghur Muslims. Beijing denies the accusations. CBS News correspondent Jamie Yuccas has the latest.
Pageantry on display, but far from a full house due to COVID restrictions. The 24th Winter Olympic Games are now open. Athletes from 90 different countries and territories marched through China's national stadium on a cold and blustery night. Leading the way for Team USA's 224 competitors, curler John Schuster. In his fifth Olympic appearance, he was chosen, along with speed skater Brittany Bowe, to be America's flag bearer.
John, have to ask, what was last night like?
As an athlete, being, I guess, chosen to carry your flag of your country to lead your delegation into an opening ceremonies is kind of the ultimate.
And capturing that ultimate moment was curler Becca Hamilton. Her brother Matt, one of John's teammates.
I don't know if she realized it when she took it. Kind of felt very fitting that John was up there and the four of his teammates behind, linked arm in arm, just had his back.
Bobsledder Alana Myers-Taylor was supposed to handle the honors, but was forced into isolation by a positive COVID test. We spoke to her before the ceremony.
We've been on the road since November 10th and never came back to the U.S. for fear of catching COVID. So to get it here, it was pretty devastating.
The pandemic and politics have become a backdrop for these games. With Chinese President Xi Jinping looking on, an athlete from China's marginalized Uyghur community lit the cauldron. While many saw it as a response to criticism of China's human rights record, an Olympic spokesperson says the skier was not chosen based on her ethnic background.
This is an athlete who is competing here. She's competing, as I said, I think this morning. She has every right, wherever she comes from, whatever her background, to compete. And she has every right, whatever her background, wherever she comes from, to take part in the opening ceremony.
This after Xi's meeting with Russia's Vladimir Putin, in which the two leaders appeared to cement their countries' relations and stand in opposition to the U.S. and Western interests.
They're not allies, they're even closer.
Stephen Lee Myers is Beijing bureau chief for the New York Times.
I think that they've telegraphed, both leaders, a desire to assert for their own countries a place on the world stage that challenges the dominance of the United States and the West.
For more on this, I want to bring in Teng Biao. He is a human rights lawyer and a visiting professor at the University of Chicago. Professor Teng, welcome. China's been accused of holding nearly 1 million people in internment camps as part of a forced assimilation campaign against the Uyghur Muslim population. What more can you tell us about these camps and why this is happening?
It started in 2017 or even more, and at least 1 million Uyghur and Hazak and other Turkic people have been put into these concentration camps, which Chinese government called re-education centers, something training centers. But actually, the Uyghur people and other detainees are being tortured, brainwashed, and women raped and sexually assaulted. It's the worst humanitarian disaster for today.
Professor Teng, as you heard, China said one of the torchbearers at Friday's opening ceremony had Uyghur heritage but was not selected for that reason. How has this been received?
It is deliberately picked. Chinese government want to use the Olympic Games as a forum to whitewash its genocide, its atrocities, and the as a human rights activist, we have been campaigning for a boycott, and the most important reason is the Uyghur genocide and other human rights abuse in Tibet, in Hong Kong, and other part of China, and so. That pick of a Uyghur athletes is totally unacceptable. They want to use this to cover up and whitewash the Uyghur genocide.
Professor Teng, these are really serious accusations. The U.S. and several other nations decided to stage a diplomatic boycott of the Games. This diplomatic boycott obviously did not stop athletes from participating. Do you think that this was the correct action for the U.S. and other nations to take, or would you like to see more done?
The diplomatic boycott is correct because the United States, Canada, and democratic countries should not be, endorsing the genocide Olympics. They should not be complicit in the atrocities committed by the Chinese government. But only the diplomatic boycott is far from enough. We call for a full boycott, and all the leaders there, the athletes and the sponsors, the media, all these participants have been used by the Chinese government as a political tool, and they are seen by the Chinese government as an endorsement. So a full boycott is needed.
Professor Teng, how do you think these Olympic Games will be remembered in the future?
It will be remembered as a genocide games. In 2008, some like Mia Farrow and her son called that Beijing Summer Olympic Games as a genocide Olympics because China is involved in Darfur massacre. But this time, the human situation has been deteriorating sharply, and in Tibet there's a cultural genocide, and in Xinjiang, the East Turkestan, the genocide is ongoing, and there's no sign for the Chinese government to stop the concentration camps. So it will definitely be remembered as genocide game. It's a shame for IOC and the Olympic movement.
Professor Teng Biao, thank you.
Thank you.